Hello, friends. Welcome back to our Dream Big Nation podcast. I'm Lisa Williams, and I'm so excited to introduce to you my new friend, Mr. Dmitry Fomichenko. Dmitry, welcome to our show. How are you?
Lisa, thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Absolutely. So, Dmitry is going to fill our brains with common sense, and I love the name of your company, which is Sense Financial Services. And Dmitry and I had the pleasure to connect on LinkedIn. He's a fellow financial services professional, and I'm really excited for you to give us some of your knowledge about what you do in your field, which Dmitry is a solo 401k expert. So we are going to learn a little bit about that. But first, I wanted to just share with our audience a little bit about your backstory, Dmitry, because you truly are, in my opinion, kind of the epitome of the American dream in a lot of ways. So can you share with our audience a little bit about how you came to this country and what prompted that move?
Sure, Lisa. It will be 25 years that this fall that we immigrated here in this beautiful country, the best country on earth, by the way. That is the forces trying to destroy this country, tear it apart, but it's still the best country on earth, and that's why we came here. We came from
I completely agree, by the way. I absolutely am on the same page with
we
you.
came from former Soviet Union, from Russia, and I was 22 at the time, and didn't speak any English, didn't have any money, but we actually came as refugees. I was born and raised in a Christian family, and my grandparents, as well as my parents, my father specifically, were experiencing persecution for their faith in the previous years. I didn't personally experience much of that, but we came with the refugee status, and it was kind of a dream come true, because when we applied first for for the migration here, it probably was about 4 years that we had to wait. So when that was announced, it was kind of like a dream. It was kind of unreal at
What
first.
what was that like? So were you still in Russia when you applied, or and you were
Yes,
just
yeah,
kind of waiting? Okay.
I was lived my whole life in Russia. Actually, I was born in Kazakhstan. It's a pretty interesting story. My grandparents were living in Kazakhstan, and that's where my parents met. And then they moved to Russia. And
Okay.
my mom, she will go visit her parents every summer. It was a 3 day ride on the train, so it wasn't a close distance. And she was pregnant with me when she went visit her parents, and I was born there. I was born in Kazakhstan, so my birthplace is Kazakhstan, but I never
Oh,
lived there.
that's funny. Would you have had dual citizenship then? Or how does that
Uh,
work?
well, I mean, it was part of Soviet Union
More of just a
at
a,
the time.
a
Yeah,
county
so
county in a sense or something
yeah,
like
so
that.
those were republics of the Soviet Union. Then it fell apart. So no, I did not have pretty much anything to do with Kazakhstan other than that being my birthplace.
I would love to step back a minute because you talk about persecution, due to religion. And that is actually one thing we connected on immediately when we met was our common faith. And I think we take it so for granted living here in the US that we are able to worship whatever we want. And I would love to, I know you were young, but what do you remember, or maybe what do you recall your parents sharing with you about that persecution?
Well, I can briefly tell you about my grandfather, who's now passed away. Both my grandparents on my mom's side passed away, and my grandma on my father's side passed away as well here. They were blessed to come here. But my mom was about 3 years old, and my grandfather, they held a small Bible study in their small apartment. She was my mom was 3 years old, and somebody basically told the authorities about that, and people came, got him arrested, and he was sentenced to death actually for that, as he was declared enemy of the people, just for having his Christian faith. And God spared his life, and that sentence was changed to 25 years of imprisonment, which then actually ended in about 5 years, because there was a change in the government, and he got amnesty, and he was released. He ended up serving 5 years.
Wow. And you actually sent me the story of that, about that it's called Under Deep Waters. Is that something you share, with the world, or is it just special for your family?
I don't really share that unless
You need
again,
to, Dmitry.
it comes up.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I'd like to share with the world, speaking with you and your listeners, is that you have to treasure the freedoms that we have. And I was shocked at the degree that people just gave up their freedoms, or given up their freedoms. Look at the last year. I mean, it's shocking. It's so precious to have the freedoms that we have here in this country. And once you give it away, once government takes the freedom, you're not getting it back.
Yeah.
You're not getting it back. But and people who many people who grew up here, and they kind of grew up in a bubble without really knowing what's going on out there in the world.
I think especially here in California a little bit, we have our own unique bubble, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so thankful that I have the background that I have of not experiencing that personally, but certainly in my family, and also just I'm one of I'm from a large family. I'm one of 9 boys in the family. I have 8 brothers.
Okay.
And we didn't have any. I mean, we just had the essential things. We had food on the table. We had a roof over our head, and that's pretty much it. And here in this country, people are so blessed, but they take it for granted.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that.
Are your brothers all here too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody came here, so everybody's
And
here.
you said something that struck me, because I find, I'm a recovering corporate executive. I haven't been in this world of entrepreneurship long like you have, but I do notice a commonality, and that is a lot of immigrants are actually wildly successful as an entrepreneur, much more so sometimes than just American raised. And I wonder why do you think that might be?
Well, because for example, back in Russia, there will not be an opportunity for me to succeed as I did here, because of the system of the taxation and so forth, just will not allow you to do so. And here you have the opportunity, and if you work hard, you'll benefit from it. And a lot of young people actually don't know what's going on in the world. They cheering for socialism without realizing what that is. It sounds good, but it never works, because socialism is basically taken from people who have and given it to those who don't have. And right now I have a business, and I consider myself blessed. And if I work harder, I can earn more. But guess what? If my profits are taken away from me, I have no incentive to work harder. Okay, so yeah, initially that might work, and those who have more will be distributed to those who don't have much. But eventually, those who have more, they're not going to be motivated to work. I mean, I remember this example. Let me just share it briefly. I'm going to try to recreate that in my mind. Is basically a teacher gave an assignment to students to kind of demonstrate how socialism works, and he said, "Okay, go ahead and do the test, and then we'll give an average grade to everybody." And so some people basically their performance was an A, but some people their performance was C, and so on average it was B. Everybody got B. Well, those people who work hard preparing for the test, they said, well, what's the point of me working hard? I'm not going to work as hard next time. And those who did not work hard, they said, okay, well, I didn't work hard and I actually got a better grade. So the next test, nobody pretty much was putting their best effort, and
Right.
the average was D. So
It's
it
like
just
it's
doesn't
reminiscent
work.
of that bell curve that I don't know if you ever heard about how Microsoft used to bonus people, is they would rate them on a bell curve, and it was like only a very small percentage could actually get the highest bonus, or whatever. Um, so, you came to the States then, and did you go straight away to school, university here?
Well, when
And
I came here, we didn't speak any English, so we took some ESL classes, and we were placed on welfare, so we did receive welfare for about 3 months maybe. So we took some classes, and then we got introduced to employment agency, and me and all of my brothers, we got some kind of a job. Well, my
Mhm.
first job was working on the assembly line with a bunch of Asian people. Actually, none of us almost speak any English, but we did work doing that assembly, earning $4.75 an hour, and I continued to went to college, and I just continued to learn English, and I then later on took some additional classes and translated my degree, which was equivalent in BS in electromechanical engineering. Got that translated, got a better job, and then better job after that. And
When were you ever an engineer? Did you practice that
yeah,
trade?
I worked
Mhm.
as an engineer for a number of years.
Okay, so it makes sense that you're a math guy too, and numbers make sense to you
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah,
My I guess my engineering hat, I have to put that on quite
yeah,
often. So that's
yeah.
definitely a bonus. It
Well, I
was
mean, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember working. I actually worked as a manufacturing engineer at my last job, and I remember it was a stressful position. I was
Yeah.
responsible for two manufacturing departments, and I remember coming home and oftentimes bringing those problems from the production floor with me. So it
To
was a
your to
stressful
your
time.
family, to your family's life.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I didn't really enjoy that, but now looking back, I do see that experience was very helpful to me. I enjoy what I'm doing now, and the experience that I gained there, even though it wasn't really pleasant experience to me at the time, but I can see it was very beneficial experience to me now.
So what prompted your move to hire yourself when you started your business? How
Yeah,
did that start?
it's kind of got orchestrated all of that kind of. As when I was working as an engineer, I got laid off, and that prompted. We actually just got married. We bought our first townhome, and that prompted me to go look for something else. And I actually got recruited to a financial firm, and started in the financial services at the time. And I'm, about the same time I got introduced to real estate investing. So I started that in a couple of years later. And then eventually I left financial services, and I moved full time into real estate. I was working with the local firm there. And then,
Did we talk about Marshall Reddick? Is that,
yes,
Yes, I remember. We did that. I did that for a small glimmer of time too, more as an investor versus I didn't really do the business like you did. So that must have been a really fun experience. I bet
Yeah,
you
it was
learned so
fun
much.
experience, and actually that's where everything was born, because we worked with investors, and there was a period of time, 2008, 9, where the market crashed. Many people lost their credit scores, and people actually wanted to use retirement accounts to invest. And we tried to work with several companies. None of them worked out long term. And because of my experience and my background, I was given a task to start a department doing this within the company. And then that's what I did. And then about a year later, I branched out on my own in 2010. So that's kind of
I love it.
the
Yeah.
backstory.
So how did you land on solo 401k
Yeah,
expertise?
initially I started doing IRAs, and I did that for about a year. And then because being in the circles, I learned about solo 401k, and that was also a learning experience for me, and getting all the licenses and everything in place to be able to offer that. And once we did, our business shifted dramatically. So right now we probably doing 90 to 95% 401ks, solo 401ks. There's still few IRA clients because not everybody is eligible for solo 401k. But because solo 401k is so much better, if you are eligible, it's no
Yeah.
brainer.
So let's kind of let's get into the brass tacks of that, because act like I'm a second grader when it comes to this, because this is completely new to me. So first of all, like define that concept for our listeners. First of all, what
Sure.
type
Well,
of plan?
many of your listeners probably familiar with the 401k, right? If they work for a company, if it's a private company, the company usually offers a 401k where you can set aside portion of your paycheck to go into this 401k account. If you work for like a government, school, or some other nonprofit, you might have 457 or 403b accounts, which are similar. But a solo 401k, the word solo implies a single individual. So it's basically designed for those people who are either self-employed or they own a business without full-time employees. So if that's the case for you, then you can establish actually a 401k for your small business. Now, it's a simplified version of the 401k in terms that there is no compliance that needs to be done, because if you have employees, there's a lot of compliance you got to do. But
Are
because
there as many fees as the 401k?
as well, yes, yeah, there are fees, and just it's very complex when you have the employees. But if it's a 401k just set up for the owner only, it's another name for it is owner only 401k, or individual 401k, or a solo 401k. So typically there is a one or two persons who are participant, the owner and maybe his spouse, if the spouse is also involved in the business. And so it's very easy to administer, but it gives you pretty much unlimited investment options. You're not limited to just the stock market. You can invest in alternative assets like real estate. You can invest in precious metals. You can invest in real estate syndications. You can do private lending, cryptocurrency.
Bitcoin, cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency.
That's a hot one right now. Yep.
Yeah, so it's a hot one. You have the ability. You cannot do that with the conventional retirement account, but with the
Right.
self-directed solo 401k, you can.
So you have a lot more flexibility. And are the fees as high as the traditional 401k, would you say?
Well, you don't have the fees based on the investments, because it's basically, again, quote unquote, self-directed plan. We
Got it.
charge a small fee for maintaining the plan documents, the back end, but the
Okay.
front end, all the investments handled by the account owner or by the
Got
plan
it.
owner. So you handle all of that. You control all the investments. You do all the record keeping. We just maintain the back end, make sure that you're compliant with the IRS. So it's very inexpensive to maintain.
Now, I know when I was a W-2 employee, which is most of my career, I had limitations on how much I could invest because I mean, we were considered, kind of the high earner category, and they really, it was kind of like on an average of the employees there, what everyone could invest. It seemed like sometimes, is there a limit on how much you can save?
Well, you're talking about limit on the contributions, not on the investment.
Correct,
So there is a limit how
correct.
much you can contribute to the 401k. Once the contribution is inside the 401k, you can invest all of it. There is typically no limit how much you can invest, but
Right.
there is a limit on contributions. So with the 401k, that limit is $19,500 per
Mhm.
year. But because solo 401k is essentially a 401k slash profit sharing plan, there is also the employer component or a profit sharing component that your company can contribute. So there's essentially, you can contribute as both employee and the employer. So the
Oh, that's
employee
brilliant.
part
So
is
you can match
19.5.
yourself, basically.
Yeah, so it's not, again, it's not matching, but it's called the profit sharing. But the combined maximum is $58,000 per year. And then
Wow.
if you're over 50, then there is a catch up. So essentially up to $63,000 you can contribute in a year. I mean, that's huge. And if you're a husband
So
wife
I,
business, I
that's
mean,
what I was just going to say. So if we set one up and my husband was also engaged in the company, he could also do that
you can
then.
double that essentially. Yeah. So I mean, think
Okay.
about, so it's not only, all the previous benefits that we talked about this, just talking about the tax shelter. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're in the business for yourself and you successful, you're making more money, which means you're paying more taxes. The
Yeah.
more you make, the more you pay in taxes to Uncle Sam. But imagine being able to shelter $100,000+ of your income from taxes. Well, what that's going to do immediately, that's probably going to drop you into a lower tax bracket because
Yeah.
that's a huge reduction in income. And then
Yeah.
as a result, you're going to be paying in the lower tax bracket and significantly lower amount. So, I mean, if you maximize this, it can easily save you $20,000+ in
Oh,
taxes.
absolutely.
I mean, that's
And then
huge.
and then you couple maybe some cash value life insurance, that I'm a big proponent of that. Did you read that book, by the way, that I sent you?
I started, but wasn't able to complete that.
Come on, Dmitry.
I need to find the time. Yeah, and so piggying back on that is that you have, once you make those contributions, now you have the freedom to invest this money any way you want. You're not just like, if you have an IRA or 401k with Fidelity, that means you can only invest in the investments that are offered by Fidelity. You
Right.
can't do anything else. Here with this vehicle, you have unlimited investment options, but
Hmm.
virtually unlimited. IRS says that the only investment that you cannot make with your 401k is collectibles. So
Okay.
collectibles are not allowed. That's just an IRS limitation. But if you are with the plan provider like Fidelity or Schwab or whoever else, then those providers, they place limitations because they obviously want you to invest with them
Hmm.
only. So we're not an investment provider, we're a plan provider. So we don't place any limitations. It's pretty much open architecture.
Yeah.
You can invest in virtually anything that you desire. So not that you will invest in everything, because you gotta learn, and but you want to invest in something that you understand.
Yeah. Now, what are the qualifications to create a solo K?
Yeah, so the qualification is that you have to be either self-employed or own a business. Has to be legitimate business that produces earned income. And number two, you cannot have any full-time employees.
Okay.
Part-time employees under 500 hours a year is okay. You can have part-time employees, but not full-time employees. So
Got
if
it.
you, again, if you're self-employed, you're doing some consulting, or you might be a contractor, or maybe you're doing some some additional work, lawyers, doctors who are independent, real estate, many real estate agents.
What about if you're, because I meet a lot of people that are, they still are employed, but they also have a business. Is that, would that
that's
qualify?
totally fine. So the
Okay.
fact that you employed doesn't have any weight on you being able to qualify for a solo 401k. As long as you have a side business or, again, self-employment activity, you're eligible. Now, there might be some other implications. For example, if you're employed and you have a 401k at your employer and you participate there, the limit that I mentioned earlier, 19,500, this is a limit per person.
Right.
So
okay.
It's a maximum that you can put as an employee in all 401k plans. So you might be, again, participating in two different plans, the employer plan, and you have your own solo 401k plan.
Got it.
As an employee, 19.5 is the max you can put combined. However, solo 401k has its own limit, its own combined limit, and that, like I said, $58,000 plus $6,500 catch up if you're over 50.
That's great. Yeah. So, and let's talk about what, where a lot of people are in transition right now. They've maybe been laid off. They've been, they've been at home and they're really enjoying this work from home life, and they're not necessarily, anticipating, really looking forward to getting back to the office. So many people are thinking about something new in their lives. What would you suggest they do if they were interested in doing something like what you're doing? And what particular licenses do you have to have? Things like that.
Well, there's many opportunities, and the beauty, I'm just gonna maybe share the concept. I learned that early on is that, if you want to start a business, you can certainly do that. You just have to identify the problem and come up with the solution.
There you go.
If enough people, as a result, you will benefit. So, and we're living, I mean, it's pretty amazing, the number of people that are around us. I mean, it's pretty much endless number of people. And another beauty of the age that we live in now is you don't have to meet face to face with people. I mean, a lot of businesses can be done online over internet. You can provide services online. So it certainly is something. One thing that I learned when I was involved in financial services is I remember attending a seminar or some presentation. It was kind of major event, but I don't remember many details from that particular event, but I do remember this segment. There were two authors. I don't remember their name. I still have the book, but the book called ABCs of Making Money. Okay. And there was one concept that
I've read that. I'm trying to remember who is that by. I'll think of
it's
it.
two authors. I have it on my bookshelf, but again, ABCs of Making Money, and the concept is that you want to create multiple streams of income. So, and if you do have a job, and if you're blessed to work from home, that's great. But remember, you don't own this job.
Mm-hmm.
This job was given to you, and it can be taken away from you. So, it's always good to have some additional source of income, and you can certainly invest, but not everybody in the position to start investing immediately. You have to have income to invest. So actually starting something on the side can be a great way to supplement your income, to grow your income, and that will another concept that I learned early on is the book by Robert Kiyosaki called the Cash Flow Quadrant.
Love it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yep.
Yes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But specifically, I want to mention Cash Flow Quadrant because he's introducing this concept. There's 4 ways to make money, 4 legal ways. As an employee, as a self-employed, as a business owner, and then as an investor. Most people on the left side of the quadrant, either employed, by a company, or maybe they're self-employed, but you want to be on the right side. So
Yeah.
I've been blessed to get on the right side. I was able to build a business. I was working in that business for many years hard, but I do have a system that now works for me, and I don't have to work for
Yeah.
money. And I have investments that work for me. I don't have to work for that. And I continue to reinvest.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
need that much. So it's
Well,
a
and
very
you
powerful
continue,
concept.
one of the things I like about you also, Dmitry, is you continue to learn. Um, and I think that's sometimes a forgotten skill set in our world. It's like I had an interview a couple months back with a mindset coach. Her name's Deb Erickson, and she talked about it's like we're trained in our university system to, it's like we graduated, it's like we obtained something, and then almost like our learning is done in a sense, right? And I think what I love about your story is that you came here, you completely, obviously had to reinvent yourself as now an American. um, you went to school, you landed in a job that admittedly you didn't love, and yet you took those skills and you used them to create what you are now doing today, and you kept learning and building on that. And I just wanted to ask you, for people that might be thinking right now, my gosh, what am I going to do next? Like what can I do? What should I do? What should I be? I mean, what would you say to them coming from your life that you've lived?
Well, it's not going to necessarily happen overnight for you, or you will have that idea overnight what you're going to do. I mean, keep thinking about this, and again, do kind of analysis of your assets, and what I mean by assets, not the physical assets that you
What you
have, but
have.
what
Yeah.
you have here, your skills and your knowledge. How can how can you utilize that? Can somebody else use that? Can you leverage that in some way or another? And that's, like I said earlier, is kind of finding the problem and then coming up with the solution. And the part of the solution might be the skills that you have,
Hmm.
because there's people who don't possess the skills, but they need job to be done, and you can be the solution for that. And another thing that I want to share is there are people who might be willing to help you. Network.
There's a
Network
lot of
is very
lot of people
important.
like that.
Get
Yeah.
to know people, and there are people who are successful
Hmm.
in life and business, and they'll be happy to take you kind of under their wing and coach you and maybe give you some direction. I had a person like that in my life that we met regularly in the beginning years of my uh, growing my business. He wasn't necessarily a business person, but he was just a mature person. He
Yeah.
had more wisdom, more experience, and that was very helpful, just even as a mental support. 'Cause
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
there were stressful times sometimes.
How do you continue to support your mindset growth now?
Uh, well, I don't really have troubles with that,
Okay.
or challenges with that. So I mean, I still network and I talk to people, but that was really instrumental for me in the beginning.
100%. Yeah. Well, and you said it. I mean, there's so much free content out there. You can pay for coaches. There's so many wonderful networking groups. I host one every Friday, called the Wealth Minded series. That there's so many ways that people can
Right.
plug in. Um, Tell us, I'm curious just in general, what do you see as kind of the forecast for the financial future? Because we've been in the longest running bull market in the history of our nation right now. And there obviously is a correction that's going to come at some point. What are you foreseeing in the, coming years?
Well, I wish I had that crystal ball for you,
Yeah,
Lisa, and for your listeners. I don't, and I'm not a overall financial expert. My knowledge and my expertise is limited. I have some experience. Yeah, solo 401ks is not something that I do, every day, and so. That is my expertise, but overall, I agree with you. The correction's been kind of overdue. One thing that just the concept again to share, and that's something to have in mind always, not just during this time when there might be a possible correction, is a concept of diversification.
yeah,
If you invest, you want to be diversified. Bible has a lot of wisdom on life in general, and specifically in the finances. And in the Ecclesiastes, there is one verse that I love that says, divide your portion into 7 or 8, because you do not know what misfortune may occur on earth.
mm-hmm,
You don't know
mm-hmm,
what tomorrow may bring. So you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket.
mm-hmm.
And that may not be applicable for 100% of the people, because there might be some baskets that are more kind of uh, uh, foolproof than others. But for most people out there, this is really good concept. It's certainly
Yeah,
applicable to me. I do diversify. I'm a real estate investor, so I do invest in real estate, but I started diversifying. So I don't just, invest in, I have a couple of rentals, but I do private lending. So I invest as a lender and
mm-hmm,
not actually as an owner. And then I do invest in a larger commercial multifamily properties where they're
mm-hmm.
professionally managed. And I have a little bit money in the market as well. So it's important to diversify.
Well, and I think, you said something that struck me also, and that is, diversification of your income as well. Not just from an asset allocation, but a business that produces income for you eventually, with a system that eventually, if you put effort into that system, it will continue to pay you dividends. Now, I would love to talk briefly about just the whole financial services vertical in general, because it is the highest paid vertical in the world outside of entertainment and professional sports. And it, you talked about finding a problem and providing a solution. So let's talk about, we are in the midst of what they're calling the largest wealth transfer in the history of mankind because of the baby boomer population. And so, thinking about someone, if they were thinking about transitioning into this industry, what are some things that you would suggest they do? Maybe to first see if they like it, are there books that you might suggest, or how might someone get into doing what you do?
Uh, well, when you say doing what I do, what specifically you mean?
Solo 401k or expert, or you are you are certainly self-taught in a lot of ways, but was there someone that taught you, I guess is what I'm saying.
Uh, Not really. Not
Okay.
really. I had to go and dig and meet with people and gather information.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is what I do is a niche.
Yeah,
It's not very well known, and it is a niche, but there is a need for it.
there's a
Uh,
tremendous need for it, absolutely.
yeah. So again, I'm not going to be specific, narrowing on one thing or another, but I think it's important for people to understand just the concept, because
Hmm.
I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I've
Yeah.
been approached a couple of times to to sell my business,
Mhm.
And I don't want to do that. I really enjoy what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I'm
there's a reason. I mean, most, the average age of advisors these days is over the age of 55, and there's 300, less than 300,000 licensed professionals in the entire US in a time when the need is the greatest. So I don't see why you would retire. You might as well keep doing what you're doing, especially when you love it, and continue to serve others at the same time.
yeah, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I'm not the type that will sit on the beach and drink margarita and kind of with their feet up. I mean, I enjoy going places and visiting new places and
Yeah.
traveling and just being out there. I love nature a
Yeah.
lot. We did some travel this past last year and last summer. Went to Sedona, Arizona, explored that beauty. We went on the coast up California coast to Oregon and seen redwoods, and there was so much beauty there. But I still have family and life, and my daughter's at school, and I can't travel, all the time. Maybe later on when she's in college, perhaps
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah.
taking more time off.
But
But
I mean, Dimitri, what you've created for yourself is you decide when you're going to do that. You don't have to ask a boss, hey, can I get X amount of days off to go up, to Sedona, right? Or whatever. And I think, for those listening that haven't thought about this world of entrepreneurship yet, you know, it can be a little scary. It certainly can be lonely, right, Dimitri? A little a little lonely at times. But I tell you what, when you really find something that you're passionate about, like Dimitri has, and you obviously are also teaching people at the same time. I can tell you enjoy teaching also. I feel like there's just really something special when people find what they're meant to do. And so that's what this podcast is all about, is helping people, encourage them to continue to explore what life really wants them, to do. So I thank you for sharing your story. Dimitri, one more question I had is, do you have to hold any certain licenses to do what you do?
well, you have to have a license with the IRS for the
Okay.
plan. Yeah,
As a solo K expert essentially, or
the
license for that
provider, the
particular
document provider.
provider.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, got it. So that's something I could even add to my toolbox if I wanted as a licensed professional. We need to talk about that more. That sounds
Sure.
interesting. Yeah. I meet entrepreneurs every single day, and so many of them are so just like completely illiterate about how money works. And that's one of the things that I really am hoping to do with this podcast as well. So, hey, Dimitri, thank you for joining us. It's so lovely to meet you and learn from you.
Sure, you're very welcome, Lisa. I enjoyed our conversation.
Me too. So, Dimitri, where can our listeners find you if they would like to work with you and learn more about how you can help their business?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is unique, and it's going to be easy to find. And on Facebook, you can also find me on Bigger Pockets, which is a social networking site for real estate investors. And you can go to our website, which is sensefinancial.com. Sense is like common sense, because and you did mention that, but the story behind it is, what I'm talking about and what I'm trying to teach people is just the common sense concepts,
Yeah.
that has to do with finances. They make sense.
Absolutely. I love it. We're so in alignment, my friend. Well, thank you for joining us. To my amazing Dream Big Nation listeners, I'm so blessed to be part of your day. I hope these stories are helping you grow as an individual. And if you aren't already, maybe giving you a little bit of courage to take that brave leap and hire yourself. So, blessings to you in this amazing life journey, my friends. And we will see you soon. Bye, Dimitri.
Bye.